Come on in, Facebook. Come on in. 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 This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. We're just happy again for the power of the Holy Spirit and what He's done in our lives. And so we want to take time out and give you time to come on in. This is your host, Apostle Dr. Sylvester Paul Brinson III of the Brinson Connection. The Brinson Connection. Every week we're in on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 and sharing some words of encouragement for you. We're so grateful for those of you that have been watching us and have been participating in our Facebook Live presentation. And so we would just take a time out and just give grace, give glory unto God and what He has been doing for us in our lives, and thank Him for this opportunity to share with you. Well, I just want to share this afternoon some things from my reflections. I was reading and meditating and thinking about the story of Lazarus, and the various principles in that story. And I want to take some time out with you that are watching and those are yet coming on. Those of you that watch this by Twitter or Facebook, or you are on our channel watching us by YouTube today, I want to talk about glean some principles from the story of Lazarus. Jesus cries with a loud voice and says, "Lazarus, come forth." Elder Sonia, God bless you. Jesus says, "Lazarus, come forth." So here, the story. Jesus is out teaching. His friend Lazarus and their sisters Mary and Martha live in Bethany, and Lazarus is sick. So the sister sent for Jesus and says to Jesus, your friend is sick. So Jesus, instead of coming when they thought he should come, shows up a couple of days late, as they would call it, a couple of days later, and Lazarus has been dead in the grave 4 days. Sometimes when we call on Jesus and it looks as though Jesus, he's doing nothing. Nothing is going on. Nothing is happening. Where is he when we need him? Where is he? I'm sure Mary and Martha, or you want to call Mary and Martha, Martha and Mary, says, wow, Jesus, his best friend, one of his better friends, is sick, and he could have came and probably helped him or talked to him, shared with him, and he might have still been alive, but Jesus didn't come. So Jesus comes, but he did come, though. He did come. Sometime when we think God is up to nothing, that God is always up to something. God is always up to something. The work of Jesus and who he is, he's always up to something, even though we may not see it, we may not understand it, we may not be able to fathom what's going on. I want you to know, my brothers and sisters, when you think God is up to nothing, he is up to something. If you read in the text, it says that the glory might be revealed, so that people may know. And so sometimes while you're trying to figure it out and figure out the whys in your life, the purposes of the whys stands out later. So sometimes we must learn how to just trust the process. And sometimes the process is unclear. Sometimes the process is frustrating. But if we trust the process. And so within the process, Jesus waits. Jesus waits after Lazarus is dead. And then he comes and he shows up. as I begin to look at that principle one, the principle that comes out of that for me is that one, the first principle is when you think that God is not doing anything, God is still active and involved. God is sovereign in all of our affairs. God is always up to something. Never think because God did not show up when you requested that he's not there or he forgot you. No, no, no. Remember, God is always up to something. So here Jesus, as he begins to engage Mary and Martha, I was taken back because, you know, we read the story. Go back to John chapter. We read the story about Lazarus and the different ways it's been interpreted. But I'm looking at some of the principles now. So Jesus says to the group that is mourning the death of their friend, where did you put him? Take me to where you laid him. Where you laid him was the last experience you had with him. So Jesus says to Mary and Martha, and also to the crowd or to the believers, to those who were with him, and to others that came around, what was your last experience? Take me to your last experience. Lazarus is dead. Your last experience with Lazarus was that you wrapped him up. You put on grave clothes because grave clothes was the definition of his state. He's dead now. His state is that he's dead. So the symbolism of his death is grave clothes. So you put the grave clothes on him. You put the grave clothes on him. You wrapped him in grave clothes, tight. You wrapped his arms and his legs, his hands, feet, and you put a face, you covered his face. Isn't that what happens when we go to our homegoing celebrations to the funerals, when we have the last viewing and they get ready to put the body away, they cover everything and then they put something over the face and then they close the casket. Your last experience was you closed the casket. You put him in a situation to summarize his state of being, and that was he was dead now. The body is dead. So because he's a dead body, we need to do what we do with dead bodies. We clean them, we wrap them up, tie them down, put a napkin over their face, and we put them in a tomb. We entomb them. In those days, they entombed them and put a stone over the cave so nobody would enter the cave so that it could be sealed off. So the community's last experience with the one that they loved or the one that they related to was that they are dead now. What are people's last respects of you? How do they see you since they seen you last? What is the definition of the activity of relationship that you have left with the people? How do they see you? So Jesus says, where have you laid him? They say, Lord, come and see. Come and see. Now, the other thing that I notice in this text is Jesus inquires, where has the body been put? The people know. He said, take me to it. Sometime in this principle, there is a request for participation of the community and the people involved with situations to bring that situation to Jesus, to identify the situation to the master. Where have you laid them? Where have you laid them? Well, Doc, we praying for you. Where was the last place you found me? Where did you leave me? Jesus said, take me to where you left him. So they bring Jesus to the grave site of Lazarus. Jesus says to the community, here's the community again, So the community brings Jesus to Lazarus, and then Jesus says to the community, "Roll away the stone." It's kind of Dr. Hawkins is kind of creative that Sister Tina, Elder Sonia, that Jesus says to the community, "I need you to redo. I need you to undo what you did." The community says, and the people of that's related said, no, we did this because of the state. We did this because he did this, because he died. We buried him. Other people said because he did this and he did that, we named him. Because this and this occurred, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is because of what he did. He died. And so we buried him. Jesus says, you participated in the process. So I need you to undo a process because I need you to work with me in a transformation. I want to submit to you that when God begins to transform and renew, restore, and resurrect, that he also involves people, places, and things in the resurrection process. Because he wants to teach a lesson and leave a lesson of active involvement. That sometimes your miracle is just not your miracle. Your miracle is the community's miracle. Your deliverance is not just your deliverance. Your deliverance is interrelated because it affects others. Sometimes we don't understand that what we go through sometimes has an effect and an effect. There's a difference between an affect, AFFECT, and EFFECT. When you get off this presentation, I want you to look up affect, effect. I want you to Google or look up AFFECT, affect. And I want you to look up EFFECT, or look at the two and how they're interrelated, related yet interrelated. There's a difference of an affect and an effect. So because of the affect and the effect, Jesus wants the community to participate now in this resurrection process. I believe more than ever before, the church, the body of Christ, we need to begin to participate in the resurrection activity and process of our communities, our people, our friends, our loved ones, relationships, our structures, our processes, that we need to see this as a communal activity of people participating together with Christ in what he has come to do, being sovereign in the world. Roll ye away the stone. Why do I have to roll away the stone? What? Because I need you to participate. I need you to be a participant in another person's resurrection. I need you to not only be a watcher or onlooker, but I want you to get involved in a process that I'm doing. I'm doing. I'm in the middle of a process. He died. I could have intervened before he died, but I'm going somewhere with this, and I need you to participate. Come on, let us together go into this story and become participants of the Lazarus experience. Roll ye away the stone. Now, I want to share with you that in the process of the community and others obeying Jesus and participating in the resurrection activity, there's always going to be one that reminds us of the state status that the situation is in. Oh, that's bad. That's, you doing that? Oh, no. Oh, but you know what happened? Do you know why? Do you know the what? Do you know what right now Do you know? I mean, that is my brother, and that is my friend, but his sister, the closest of the relationship, says, God, I need Jesus. Can I remind you that my brother has been dead 4 days? We wrapped him up, and we put him in the grave, but rigor mortis and all the things that go along with a dead body is now set in, and there's a stench. By this time, he's stinking. I do love my brother. I mourn him. I'm trying to bring closure. Sometimes certain things we're trying to bring closure to, God says, no, not yet finished. No, no, no. Based upon the situation, based upon the activity, we brought closure, and we're continuing in our closure process. We have our mourners here. And, we're sitting up here in our repast. You show up 4 days later, and now you want us to take you to where he is, and we've done that. Now you want us to roll away the stone. Well, let me remind you that we're going to follow your directions, and we're going to. But we need to give you an update. He stink. He just bottom line. By this time, he stink. Or now, it could have been a friend. It could have been a person in the community, but it was the sister. It was a close related one. Who are the close related ones that always are reminding Jesus, you, and the crowd of the condition that Jesus have come to? Jesus says, you're in a process. I am sovereign God. And there's an expectation now that Jesus said, where did you lay him? We come to where he is. That creates expectation. Then he says, roll ye away the stone. That creates more expectation. But then somebody has to say, but I just want to remind you of the situation. There's a stench. By this time, he stinketh. I need you to kind of get out. Why rain on my parade? This is an expectation. What is Jesus about to do? He said, let's go find where you laid him. Something is about to happen. There's an expectation. He said, roll away the stone. So there's an expectation, but there's always this person, this incident, this situation that always brings up a reminder of what he is at this point. Well, he did this, she did that. She don't have no job. She this and that. This and that. Based upon what society say, based upon the situation. I'm not trying to be funny, but can I give you an update? What was the last update? Jesus reminds them, I told you who I was. I need you to stay with the process. Somebody ought to share. Just hit your share button. Hit your share button. Hit your share button right now. Hit your share button. Hit your share button. Hit your share button for me. I want to tell somebody out there that there are people that they need to tell their people, stay with the process. Stay with the process. Stay with the process. Jesus knows all about, but you don't have to remind Jesus. Just stay with the process. You don't have to remind the community and others who are now have a creative expectation of what the is. Somebody's always come and say, oh, well, wait a minute. Let me explain. No, no. I don't know why y'all going this far, because he stink. He's stinking. I resolved. I brought closure. It's over. So I don't even know why we're here, but we're here. But no, you're always going to have people who are going to come to remind Jesus in the process, when expectation is arising, of the reality of the isness of he stinks. Jesus calls Lazarus and said, Lazarus, come forth. Now, I want to kind of, as I thought about this story and I'm looking at the principles, Jesus calls and say, Lazarus, come forth. The call, I am the resurrection and the life giver, calls into the death process for a transformation happening and say, come forth. Now, if you look at that term, come forth, that term means that term is pregnant with activity to cause to be, to come forth, to call, to speak. It's a prophetic word that goes into the process, rearranges the wasness of the process to a is now command to come forth. A word. Now, I thank God for Aretha Franklin and her song about Lazarus and the song, but she kind of twisted it a little bit. She said, and when she sang the song Lazarus Come Forth, she said, for the benefit of you, I'm going to call him 3 times. Now, that's not the biblical narrative. Jesus isn't called 3 times. I mean, sometimes people expect, no, it didn't say he called him 3 times. The word of God is so powerful. It needs not to be repeated more than once. I think that principle is important too, because how many of us have asked God and declared and decreed a principle, and we keep on decreeing it? I mean, what's the repetition? Well, we're going to keep repeating this over and over and over and over. We get a song, say, I love you. We'll say, I love you 20 times in a praise service. One song took up 20 minutes of us telling Jesus we love him. Repetitive. I mean, is that more of a religious dialogue of a worship? I don't know where this come from, where, we have to keep saying stuff over and over and over and over and over. Is word pregnant enough with power that when it's spoken once, it goes into activity? Jesus calls Lazarus not 3 times, not 2 times. He calls him 1 time, Lazarus, come forth. The power of the spoken word. What is it, and what have you done to situations and circumstances to speak? When Jesus was on the boat and the storm was rising, and the disciples woke him up and said, Master, we perish. He didn't come up and say, peace be still, peace be still, peace be still, peace be still. Oh, peace be still. He rebuked the winds and the waves and said, peace, be still. He told be still to come after peace, because when he said peace, be still is the result of his peace. I'm going to say peace, and I'm going to follow up with my peace by saying be still. So if you're not clear what peace means, it means to be still. So I'm expecting there to be a stilling of the process to bring in the peace. He spoke 1 word. 1 word, 2 words, but he spoke 1 time. When will we get to the point and the place in our lives of spoken prophetic word where we can speak that word, and the speaking of the word begins to pregnate the situation and brings a causality of the causal emotion of activity? Lazarus, come forth. Come forth. Forth, F-O-R-T-H, come forth, to cause an activity to happen, to cause an activity to be now in process, to start a process, to call out, to call into and out, to call into and out, into a situation, a reaction to come out. Lazarus, come forth. Well, now let's look at this person. We're still working the story. We're still working the text. Sometimes some of us need to just think about some of the biblical texts, some of the biblical stories, and go into the biblical stories and study it, pull out all the principles and all of the things that we can live off of out of that story. So we're in the story for you all that tuned in late. Hit the share button, hit the share button, hit the share button. Those who tuned in late, we're talking about the story of Lazarus. Lazarus and Mary and Martha and Jesus. So we're at the tomb. Jesus says to the crowd to roll away the stone. Martha needs to interject to remind Jesus that he's been dead 4 days. And by this time, they've done all the things and they've wrapped him up, tied him tight, put a face around his napkin. But he's about stinking now. Jesus calls into, in the midst of, he's calling into death. He's calling to one that is tied down and wrapped. He's calling into one who may be stinking. He's calling to one that has been dead 4 days and has been put in a cave with a stone rolled over it. The community wrapped him up, tied and wrapped him up tight. The community put him into the process to celebrate, not necessarily celebrate, but yes, the homegoing, to celebrate the process by accepting the death process and doing what normally do, the ritualize. So let's take celebrate out and say the ritualization of death. Of all the things, all the accoutrements of the ritualization of one that is now dead has been accomplished now, and we're now going through what we call closure. You know, the community has its rules and regulations and its ordinances of how to bring closure to that which is dead. How to bring closure, Sister Latrice. How is it that I can accept what it is, and I can go through the process of my exception to accept Lazarus' death. I can put him into the process of releasing him with my tears and my pain. And I can wrap him up, do what I need to do for the person that is dead, put him in a cave in my mourning process, put a stone over them, and then go back and say, I'm in closure now. But now Jesus comes and says, I want to rework the process now. You take away the stone. Calls Lazarus. Lazarus comes out. Now, the pregnancy of the spoken word that ain't repeated 4 or 5 times says Lazarus come forth. The power of the word come forth, but he called him by his name, caused a transformation to take place and activate the miracle. Some of us need to hear the voice of God saying, calling our name to come forth. Some of us need to take advantage of the Holy Spirit and the empowerment of God's Spirit in our lives and speak to our situations to come forth, even though we have buried them. We have accepted the process. We have decided it is what it is. Somebody needs to say it is what it is, but it ain't going to be, excuse my English, it ain't going to be what it is. And even though it is what it is, and we've accepted all the accoutrements of isness, I decided, no, it can't be. I'm going to stay for the resurrection. Well, we're going to settle. Okay, this is it. It is okay. But I'm moving now toward another process. I'm looking at the fact that Jesus has showed up and said, where do you put him? Where did you lay him? Where did you conclude? Take me to the last conclusion, because I want to redo and undo. I want to undo and redo and bring back to life that which has been lost. I want to bring back to life that which was given up and submitted to, that there was a death. Lazarus, the miracle is that something about transformation, something about transformation, Latrice, Cleon, Tina, LaSonia, and others, some things about transformation we just don't understand. And maybe we ought not to really have to know everything, but we know one thing, that when God speaks, things change. So here is a person that's been dead 4 days, that's stinking, that's been wrapped tight, because in those days when they buried the dead, they put their hands to their side, their feet together, and they tied them with cloth real tight. Tied them with cloth real tight, and then they put a cloth around their face. So so Lazarus is laying there dead 4 days. He has no movement and no mobility because he's wrapped and tied. He can't see. Why do he need to see? He's dead. So there was no motion. There was no visual. There was no hearing. There was no seeing. There was no talking. There was no touching. There was no movement. To this situation, Jesus calls his name and speaks a process to say, I'm sending motion to motionless. I'm sending life to lifelessness. Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead, that was bound, came forth. He came forth. He came. The spoken word had the situation to obey it. Come forth. When was the last time you spoke to a situation and it obeyed you? How much faith and belief and empowerment do you have with Jesus that you can speak to a situation and obey you? You can speak to those things that be not as though they were. You can speak into causality and cause motion and movement and transformation because of your faith in what you say. Jesus speaks. Lazarus comes forward as he is now. He comes forward as he is. Now, you know, we talked about earlier about the principle of community activity. We talked about the principle of corporate relatedness. We talked about the principle of the need for Jesus sometime to involve community in our release, to involve community in our transformation, because it helps the testimony. Well, why can't Jesus do it in the corner and I just come and testify? Sometimes Jesus want to involve other people in the process so that the testimony is live enough and convincing enough that others hearing the testimony can celebrate what God is doing, and his glory is revealed and shared and to others, which brings about hope that if he done it for others, he could do it for me. The community testifies. Yep, Lazarus died. Yep. The community testified. Yep, we mourned with mom. Yep. Yeah, we was there when the doctor said, yep. Based upon the situation that we have read upon and studied, we agree that this is the way things are, you know, whether you're sick or whether there's an addiction, a circumstance, based upon the society, the community, the rules and regulations of this is how it goes. And yep. Everybody pretty much that knows about this situation and have studied it has agreed that these are the consequences and these are the dynamics of the isness of the moment. God said, I want to use all that to testify that you're getting ready to get a clean bill of health. I'm talking to somebody today. God said, no, I want to use some other folk. Some of the same people that said, you stink. Some of the same people that wrapped you up and left you. Their last conversation with you, you was dead. The last conversation with you, the last interrelation, the last interaction with you is they help put you in the tomb. The last interaction they had with you, they sealed the stone. They went back to the house. They went back to the other place. They went back with everybody else who sort of concluded it is what it is. Jesus said, but I'm getting ready to undo what was done. I have come as the resurrection and life. I come to transform. Transformation also calls for witnesses. You can be a witness. Sometimes God is in his sovereignty. Well, Brenton, I don't want everybody knowing my business. They don't have to. But you know what? There's some people that do know some of your business. You know, the way the world is today, you know, you try to hold a secret as long as you can, it'll bust out somewhere. So those little few people, well, not everybody, Brenton, no, I'm talking about just the people involved. Those people who got involved, God says, I'm going to use those people that's got involved with the circumstance as a reminder of that person's freedom. And I'm going to use them to participate in the freedom process. So when they begin to second guess and second think the process, they have to look at themselves and say, you participated in this process. Lazarus comes forth bound, hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face bound about in a napkin. He comes alive. He comes and stands in front of Jesus. But the community's representation of him, even in this miracle, is the sight of the grave clothes. The sight of the face being bound with the napkin. The community, those in close relationship. Jesus says to them, I need you to undo what you did because that person no longer is in a state that you last celebrated. Loose him and let him go. Untie him and free him. I believe, you know, in the principle that, you know, God, through the power of the Holy Spirit, brings us into a place and we are transformed. But the outer relationships, sometimes we still look like what we've been through. We still look. Jesus said, I don't want you looking like what you've been through. Well, you know, since I've been through this and this and that, I've got a, you know, I got a leftover reminder of, you know, everybody's not Jacob. Everybody don't get a limp from wrestling with the angel. Well, you know, you got a limp now. No. I don't want you to have no limp. I don't want you walking around smelling like death. I don't want you walking around carrying around grave clothes that the community had wrapped you in. I want to release you to a new community, a community that's become new with thought, expectation, hope, life, excitement. You, the community, unwrap him. You wrapped him. You unwrapped him. Loose him. Unloosen him. Loose him and let him go. As I begin to understand that, loose him. Take away the stone. Now loose him. Untighten. You know, people have a way of tightening you up, putting you in a box, defining you, and don't give you no room to move. No. Loose him. Take off the definition of the fact that he was dead. We for some reason, I don't know, we always celebrate our testimony. Well, you feel like, I was this and I was that, I was this, I was that, I was this, that. God said, why you? I didn't ask you to do all that. I took the grave clothes off you. Why you still talking about, well, we need to talk about that? No, that ain't gospel. Telling your testimony is not necessarily preaching the gospel. You can tell people they can be free, set free, and deliverance. You don't. Well, I'm going to be transparent. I need to be transparent. Where is that in the biblical text? That when you are delivered, you shall. That where it is, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He's anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to bring release to the captive, recovery of sight to the body, and to set liberty to them that are bruised. Because I'm going to be transparent. Can you speak the word without being transparent? Your need. Can you let Jesus and the power of the word of the gospel be the deliverer? Or do you need to put in your life experience to help a person be delivered? Well, if you ain't been through it, you can't really help nobody. That ain't biblical. Jesus didn't say everybody that went. He said, he told them, he sent them out 2 by 2, say, heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out devils. He didn't say, because you got a devil, you cast out the devil. See, you ain't been there and done that, so you don't understand that. That's religious stuff. Spiritual stuff is different from religious stuff. Spiritual stuff don't need no example of your transparency. Spiritual stuff just need the principles from which you came. Who are we? No man after the flesh. No me. Let me be transparent. Keep your transparency. Give me Jesus. Give me the word. The word that is powerful, that's loaded with pregnancy to cause my transformation. Because if you give me your transparency, then you may want to hold me accountable to go through it like you went through it. That means you giving word a suggestive direction of how to handle me when I'm different from you and your circumstance. So I don't need to be transparent. I need just to preach the gospel, live the gospel, teach the gospel. I'm a living epistle read by many. That means you're reading what I'm doing and what I'm doing. You're reading what I'm doing. And so he says, loose him, take him, loose him up. Loose him. Take these things off of him. Give him the freedom to be loose now, to be free, and then let him go. Let him go experience. Don't hold him to you. Some people, when you participate in their movement and their upgrade, they feel like they have to hang around. You got to run around with them now because you was the causative factor. You was not the causative factor. Your word was. Your word, the power of the Holy Spirit in the word, the prophetic nature of your being was the causative factor. The gospel itself caused the change, not you, the person. But you, the person, need to take the clothes off. You loose him, unwrap him, unwrap him, unwrap him, unwrap him, unwrap her. Some of you all have wrapped people up and where they are. God said, unwrap them. No. I know, but because I'm doing something with them. They've already come forth. They was able. See, what I like about the story, what's so amazing about this story is that in the midst of being wrapped up by the community, tied down by the community, and blinded by the community, Lazarus was able to come forth to Jesus. And Lazarus was able to come forth to the community with a reminder of, this is what you did to me. And the community said, yeah, but we did that because of what you were. You were dead. Lazarus is not dead anymore. Jesus said, so community, you can't do that. You got to unwrap him, unwrap him, because my process has changed him. In his mindset, I've changed him. So all the parts of him has to be reflective of a transformation. We must be reflectives and reflections of the transformation that's going on the inside, must participate outside. Lazarus heard on the inside. He couldn't see. He couldn't lift his hands. He couldn't shout. He could hop on out. However he came out, he came out. bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his eyes bound with a napkin. Jesus says to the community, loose him, take all that stuff off. Take it off and let him go. Somebody that's listening to me, you have heard the voice of Jesus that have called your name, and the community of others have put you in a context or a situation that of your isness of what you were, what you is dead, but they don't understand that somehow the transforming words of Jesus has come into the midst of who you are and have changed you. Some of you all that have done that to people need to go back and revisit them, because perhaps the gospel has transformed their lives. And you need to be a part of those that wrap them, that define them, to give new definition. Well, I'm not Lazarus. Well, be part of those that Jesus said, bring me to him, roll the stone away, loose and let him go. Who have you brought to Jesus? Or put it this way, who did you bring Jesus to? That's better. Because Jesus said, take me to him. Who did you bring Jesus to? What circumstance of an other did you bring Jesus to? Not talk about it, no more mourning. Now I'm bringing Jesus to the situation. When was the last time you moved as a deliverer, as a person who brings transformation, as a walking epistle of the gospel of peace? When was the last time that you brought Jesus to a situation, a circumstance? When was the last time that you heard Jesus say to you, roll away the stone? When was the last time that you reminded Jesus, it's stinky? I don't like that. They're dead. Yes, to remind you of, yeah, that is. But within the process, you hear Jesus calling. You have to witness that there was a call of restructure that went on. You have to be a witness. That transformation is occurred. You have to be a witness that sovereign God stepped in the midst of the situation and changed it and put it in another category, and then spoke back to you and said, loose it and let it go. Let's put it in the psychosocial. Let's go psychological. What is it in your mind has been dead and now God is resurrected? What is it that you need to loose from your mind? What is it that you need to unwrap from your mindset? What emotions and frustrations you need to let go? You're still carrying some stuff, and your name has been called. Your name, you've come out of darkness. The cave was dark. But in the midst of your cave, the stone was rolled away and the sunshine shone in there. And then a voice came and called you out. Now, will you loose the experiences? Will you let go your frustrations and your emotions? Will you let yourself go into new dimensions of expectation? Will you let yourself go to new ideas of creativity? Will you now be alive now? Will you be alive now? Will you release those persons who wrapped you up, those persons who gave final evaluation of you? They was only working out of their isness and their experience. You may not even be able to change them. Some of them don't trust the fact that you are alive now. Well, that's all right. Let you go. Let me go other places. Sometime you may need to do that. The question is, the community, you are called to loose people and let them go. Are you an agent of loosing people from their past? Because their presence is a definition that the past is over. Based upon the definition of their isness, the wasness is insignificant now. Because, see, the grave clothes is insignificant to the fact that he is not now dead. The significance of the grave clothes was significance to signify death had occurred and he was dead. But now that there's a significance, the transformation has occurred, and now he's alive, there's no need no more for the significance of the grave clothes. When do we allow insignificant stuff no longer to be significant because of the position we're now in or others are in? Loose them and let them go. Loose him and not loose yourself. No, you just need to obey the transformative call. Come forth. Here I am. I'm back. But the part of me that's back is renewed. There's new life. I've been through the storm, but I've been renewed. I've been resurrected. Where are those people who will celebrate my resurrection and get me out of this dilemma of signifying my death, because I'm no longer dead now? So take off me, redefine me, stop talking about me. The name you gave me, you can't use that anymore because I'm no longer that. My definitions have changed. Loose him and let him go. Jesus' resurrection and transformative power visits us in our circumstances, redo and undo, rolls away the stone, if we can bring Jesus to the process. Step one. So what do we learn from the story today? As I conclude the story of Lazarus, what do we learn? The principle, number one, in the midst of the fact that we think that Jesus didn't show up when we asked him to show up, that just because Jesus didn't show up when we wanted him to show up didn't mean that Jesus was working on it. Why, Jesus, did you not show up? Lazarus is dead, but I go to wake him out of sleep. No, but he's dead. But he's dead because that the works of God can be glorified. So because Jesus didn't show up when you wanted him to show up did not mean that he was not working on it, because he will eventually show up. But when he does show up, there's going to be a reason for the season, that the works might be manifested. You go on about your business. Go do what you do, and knowing that Jesus is still working on it. Principle one. Principle two. Where and what is it that you bring Jesus to? Jesus said, where is it? Identify it. When do you identify the isness? When do you come to your truth? People will talk about your truth, but where did you put it? Where is your truth now? Where is your truth now? Engage me into your truth. Take me to your truth. Invite me to your pain. Invite me to your death. Invite me to whatever your truth is, identify it, invite me. And then reassure your identification. It's a stink. It stink. It's been dead 4 days. It stink. Identify the issues. Bring me to it. And then watch me work, and watch those people that are around it, that are interrelated to it. I'm going to use them as processing your truth. Roll the stone away. I'm going to call you out. I'm going to transform you. Take off the grave clothes. Loose them, let them go. Take off the bandage, let him see. Take off the thing, let him raise his hands. Let him worship. Take off the stuff around his legs and feet. Give him movement and motion. Let him have creativity. Do something to his mind, his face, his mind, his brain, his eyes, what he sees, his ears, what he hears, his mouth, what he talks about, symbolic also of his intake, what he takes in, symbolic of his nose, what he exhale. I need you to inhale, but I need you to exhale. Exhale the hell and inhale freshness. Inhale to exhale. Listen to hear. See and perceive. Talk about what I'm doing. And know in your brain where I'm going. So the rest of you, the touch factors, the movement factors, your hands can touch and feel and carry. Your feet can move into new directions and take you. Loose him and let him go. Well, my time is almost up. I wonder, Latrice, Cleon, Tina, Elder Sonia, others, did this help you? Give me a thumbs up. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. You own it, Apostle. You own it, Apostle. You own it. You own it. Hit the share button. Maybe get somebody into last minute. Guess what? Jesus says, take me to where you have laid them. Because even though I didn't come when you wanted, I'm working on something. Can you look at your situation and circumstances and gather hope in your mind and spirit to say, I've asked, and Jesus is working on something. It may not be in the time frame of what I expect, but I'm putting it in his hands. I'm going to let him work it out. I'm going to let him work. But I'm going to be ready now to cooperate with the process. Because sometimes we put stuff in God's hands, and Jesus is saying through the power of the Holy Spirit, we hear him saying, now do this and do that and do this and do that. But we don't want to follow the process. But we want to tell them, we want to get them told, my brother's died, and blah, blah. And God said, okay, come on, let's go this, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't feel like. Take me where you're laid. And well, it's too far. That could have been, we tired. We've been walking all day. No. So you want me to walk? Yeah, take me where you laid them. Rolled away the stone. Well, it's a big stone. I really don't feel like it. There's always situations. And he stinks, so we can't get too close to even take away the stone because he stinks. You know how much stink is over there, and you want us to go over there into the stinkiness and take the stone away? You want us to get involved in the nasty? She said, yep. If he stinks, smell the stink, because I'm getting ready to change the stench. I'm getting ready to take life and make it so sweet. I'm getting ready to rework the stench and change the smell to give you a life-living fragrance. I'm going to provide a fragrance of opportunity in your life. A fragrance of opportunity in the life. I want the sun to come in the midst of the darkness. I want you to loose and cause activity and freedom and creativity. And I want you to let them go for movement into new areas. Or go back to old areas being renewed as a testimony. Lazarus, come forth. Who or what is your Lazarus? How is the community engaged or ought to be engaged in the participation? What are those who are to be members of that community? And don't get preoccupied in the activity and the actions and the feelings and the summaries of the statements from the community, because what you want to be preoccupied in is what is the words of Jesus, Lazarus, come forth. Because in the command of come forth is the understanding of another command. Jesus commands them to take me where he is. Command to roll away the stone. A command to speak to the situation. Command to loose and let it go. Lazarus, come forth. And he that was bound, came forth with the community's description. The command to the community is take it off. To your friends, to your loved ones, to your family, shut up, take it off. To you, don't act like you're in it no more. Let them take it off. Some of us don't want nobody to take it off. Let us get the, hey, let's get this off you. No, no, take it off. It served its purpose. Free at last. And so, my brother and my sister, those who are watching me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, God is called. And while you have called him and he had not showed up, God is still up to something, because the sovereignty of God is going to work all things together for the good. Feel free to share with him how you feel. You may be part of the community that's watching. Obey the voice of God as part of the community of the situation, because you may be the one that needs to take Jesus to. You may be the one, if you're the community, that needs to roll away the stone. You may be the one in other people's lives and situations to take off their grave clothes and allow them to breathe, or to teach and to train, to motivate, to inspire. And so it is. Well, thank you for your time. This has been the Brinson Connection. I'm your host, the Dean of the Brinson Connection, Apostle Dr. Sylvester Paul Brinson III, Dean of the Brinson Connection. Follow us on Facebook. I realized, and I was told that somebody has tried to hack my page and they're asking you to be their friend. Well, I didn't ask. I'm not asking nobody to be my friend. So if they hack my page, so it'll get unhacked, because they can't deliver it at the level I'm delivering. So I'm not going to get all messed up, because we got people out here who are lying, who are doing all kinds of things to your Facebook page. But the message on this page can't be hacked. You can't hack my message. You can edit it, it ain't going to come out right. And those who follow me know the real Brinson. This is your host, Apostle Dr. Sylvester Paul Brinson III. I am not asking for no friends, so don't friend nobody. No, don't friend nobody. I've got I'm maxed almost now. So if you get a friend request from me, that's because, you know, somebody else is asking you that, but not me. You can go on our YouTube, type in Dr. Sylvester Brinson III, and watch this video again, and tune into any of our 200 teachings. Those of you that ask how to be a blessing, that want a cash app, Tabernacle, $Tabernacle, the number 7. $Tabernacle, the number 7, cash app. Go check out our website, The Brinson Institute, www.thebrinsoninstitute, BRINSONINSTITUTE, thebrinsoninstitute.com. Go on, check out our page. You have opportunity to give, see what we do, visit our fellowship, and see the other people we relate to. I'm so glad to be with you. And as we continue to share, until next week, the same time, every Wednesday from 2 to 3 Chicago time, Central Standard Time, we're on. Meet us again on the Brinson Connection and follow us. Remember now, Lazarus, come forth. Be blessed.